This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
All right. Here we go. This is actually interesting stuff because it's kind of groundbreaking in a sense. Not they've done it before, but it's something that hasn't been done in a while, and they needed to kind of resurrect it. And it's really important for the sport. Well, two-time Olympic gold medalist and former WNBA and MVP Breanna Stewart unveiled her signature shoe with Puma on Friday, the first such partnership in more than a decade. Listen to that, in women's professional basketball. The Seattle Storm forward said she hoped that the Stewie 1 shoe will help pave the way for more exclusive shoes in women's basketball, with lucrative deals often falling to the men's side. One of the biggest selling points was Puma is going to obviously continue to invest in women, invest in women's basketball, try and not only level the playing field between men and women's basketball, but make it better, the two-time NBA champion told Reuters. Puma declined to provide details of the value of Stewart's deal with the company, but said that the shoe would be available in North America in the fall. The biggest thing for me was the signature shoe, especially since it's been over a decade since women's basketball had a signature shoe to continue the kind to get where we want to be as a sport, said Stewart. The deal comes as the 27-year-old former first-round pick is in her prime, selected as an all-star for the fourth time this year after 2 Achilles surgeries made her miss a chunk of her early career. She leads the NBA with an average of 21 points per game, and she also has no plans to slow down anytime soon, particularly after welcoming daughter Ruby with her wife Marta in August. Especially being a mom, I have a different perspective of what I do because I have another set of eyes always watching me. So this is actually really cool for women's basketball. Look, I'm a guy that's pro sports, pro women's sports. And I know where it's at. It's a niche sport. Okay. And it's even more niche than hockey or baseball or soccer in this country, because soccer is not niche in the rest of the world, but it is here. And so I understand. I covered the Soul when we had a WNBA team. I've always been positive about women's sports, but I do know where it's at. There's no interest, and it's grown, but it really doesn't really command. And Sean brought up something the other day, and he goes, they've got the women's All-Star game going on this weekend, but they've also got the Summer League. And the Summer League is just crushing, women's regular season and All-Star game. And that's the problem. The freaking Summer League, everything coming out of the Summer League is crushing the WNBA. And why? Because women's sports have not gotten to the point where they matter to the general public. Women's soccer, Olympic soccer, because I went to go see the Magic Jack. I covered them a couple times in Boca, and most people didn't know we had some of the best players in the world playing in our backyard. They had a couple benches there for some fans to sit down for a few people because they knew they weren't going to get crowds. And that's women's soccer. But on the Olympic side, we'll fill stadiums for the women's teams. So we've shown some interest. I remember when I was doing onside radio, and I had a host that was doing a soccer show, and she was really interested into women's soccer, but she didn't understand radio. And so she did back-to-back segments of women's soccer. And I pulled her aside and said, "You can't do that." She got all personal. But I'm passionate about it. Doesn't matter. Doesn't move the needle. You can't do 2 straight segments of hockey and 2 back-to-back segments of baseball and 2 back. It doesn't matter women's soccer. It's certain sports. You can't do 2 straight segments in radio of that. You'll kill your audience. They'll all tune out. And that's where we're at with women's sports. That's why it's big to get a shoe deal for them, because maybe young girls growing up will start to follow their idols, and maybe they'll start to buy those shoes. And if the shoe companies can see that, then they can reinvest into women's sports. And maybe we can make it to the point where women don't have to go overseas to make more money. That tells you how much women's sports don't matter in this country. You can go overseas to play and make way more money in basketball than you could in the WNBA. That's why Mickey Harrison eliminated the Soul, because he wasn't making a penny. He was losing. Because a lot of those WNBA teams aren't cutting profits. They're supported by their NBA counterparts. And unfortunately, that's where we're going to be with women's sports until somehow or another we get to the point that, the All-Star game yesterday ended with fouls, with the slam. She ended it with a dunk. I've always said this about women's basketball. And I know that some women will get a little bothered by this, but it is what it is. I'd lower the basket. I'd lower the basket about 8 to 10 inches and make it where the game is high flying a little bit more and more women can dunk. And if you can play a game a little bit above the rim, a little bit more, I think you would attract more of the general audience. But by the time we get women to play above the rim in 10 feet, man, we're 50 years from something like that. You have to get enough women to grow that tall to be able to do. That's tough, man. It's tough. But this is a really good move for women's basketball, for women's sports in general. Hopefully it'll build something more down the line and more revenue for them too, to do what they love. That is your KSDT CPA Sports Business Report.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.